Hello, I'm Victor Claremont, and I'd like to welcome you to the Happy Family Bible Seminar. Today's program was developed by Happy Family Bible Seminars International and is being presented by Sapphire Throne Media. In this series, we share with you the keys to principles that, when followed, can transform your family into a happy family. Our motto is to empower you and your family for time and eternity. So make yourself comfortable and grab a pen and paper for your notes. And now, here's Eric Garloff, who will share today's message with you.
Welcome to the Happy Family Bible Seminar. My name is Eric Garloff. Our topic today is titled, Honey, Where's the Money? And today we'll be looking at 6 biblical keys for your financial success. Whether your finances are in good shape or not, I'll be sharing principles with you that will lead you to gain better control over your financial situation. These principles, if applied to your finances, will give you more financial flexibility over your life today and for the years to come. Did you know that 40% of the recorded stories found in the Bible which Jesus told deals with money? In one of them, Jesus spoke of a man who entrusted wealth to his stewards. To one of them, he gave 5 talents of money. To another, 2 talents, and to a third he gave 1 talent. Then the man went away, and upon his return, the first steward reported to him, saying, You have entrusted me with 5 talents. See, I have gained 5 more. The man then said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. The second steward said, You entrusted me with 2 talents. See, I have gained 2 more. And again the man responded, Well done, good and faithful servant. When the third man came to him, he said, Master, I knew that you are a hard man. So I was afraid, and I went out and I hid your talent in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. The master of the house then called him a wicked and lazy servant and took his money away from him. You can read about it in Matthew chapter 25, verses 15 through 26. The question to us is, how can we, like the first 2 men, become successful in handling the money which God has entrusted with us? What secrets does the Bible hold to our financial well-being? Did you know that there are 4 basic money plans that families have been using over the centuries? While I share each of these plans with you, take the time to think about which plan you are using now and what you need to do in order to switch over to God's plan. Now, here are the first 3 plans. The first is known as the one boss plan. Then we have the 2 boss plan. And the third one is the 2 partner plan. We'll talk about the 4th plan after we discuss these first 3. Beginning now with the one boss plan, this plan is sometimes used with one-income families. In this plan, the one who earns the money typically develops the attitude, This is my money, and I'm going to use it as I please. So don't ask me any questions about what I do with my money. Typically, the man earns this income, and he allows his wife to have a weekly or monthly allocation. But the wife is basically kept in the dark about his income and is unaware of the expenses, not knowing where the money goes each month. If she asks her husband, Honey, where's the money? She must typically run for her life and take cover. Obviously, this is not a plan that God's happy family should be using for their finances. In fact, Jesus condemns the arrogant attitude so often found when following the one boss plan. It's found in Matthew 20, verses 25 and 26, where Jesus says, You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those that are great exercise authority over them. Yet it shall not be so among you. But whosoever desires to be great among you, let him be your servant. So instead of exercising control and power over your family, Jesus would have us be a servant to our family. And that's a plan that you can be sure God will approve of. If you find yourself using the one boss plan, I would encourage you to open your heart and your finances to your spouse. Oftentimes when people are hiding their finances from their spouse, they are spending money in areas that they should not be. Thus, when you include your spouse, he or she becomes a guard and protector of your money. I therefore urge you to consider stepping out of the one-boss plan in favor of a better plan for your financial situation. The second money plan is the two-boss plan. And as you may have already guessed, in this plan, both the husband and the wife are working. And both the husband and the wife have the attitude, this is my money. I worked hard for it. You have your own money, so don't tell me how I should spend my money. In this plan, both parties keep their incomes to themselves. The two of them typically decide who pays for which expenses. And that's about as far as they go with each other concerning their household expenses. If either one asks, honey, where's the money? There's typically a fight on the horizon. Again, obviously, this is not the plan for God's happy family. The two-boss plan violates the philosophy of marriage. Now, many people claim to have their own reasons for using this plan. But I'd like to say that if you truly come together as a married couple and submit to God and to each other, then God has a much better plan for you to follow. God's philosophy of marriage is found in Matthew 19 and verse 6, which says, so they are no longer two, but one flesh. This unity which God desires us to have ought to be a symbol of oneness in all areas of our family life, including our family finances. The greatest blessings come to our marriage and to our family when we submit to God and to each other. Now, let's talk about the third plan. This plan is a much better plan than the first two. The third plan is the two-partner plan. In the two-partner plan, you don't have my money or your money, but rather you have our money. If the household only has one spouse earning an income, then he or she puts the money on the table saying, I work outside the home, you work inside our home. This is not my money, it's our money. If both spouses are earning an income, they both put their money on the table declaring, this isn't my money or your money, it's our money. In this model, their income is a joint income. In this model, all the major household expenses are decided together. In this model, the household budget is created together. And in this model, getting into debt requires the decision of both people. In this model, both parties not only decide how to spend their money, but they also decide collectively how to save their money. When both parties use the two-partner plan, you can easily see how this plan is a great plan for the happy family of God to use. Now, there may be a few valid exceptions to using this plan, and I pray that you are listening very closely right now. A few exceptions to using this plan, for example, would be if a spouse squanders money through gambling, alcoholism, or drug addiction. If you find yourself in any of these situations, then this plan is not a practical plan for you to use until the problem is dealt with and taken care of. If you find yourself in any of these situations, I would advise you to seek professional help for your loved one. If you find yourself in any of these situations, you cannot trust the person who has these issues with your household finances. And you should seek the proper care necessary to get your household back on track with godly principles that will propel your family into greater heights of love and respect for one another. But in the meantime, you need to take the necessary steps to guard and protect the household finances for your family's needs. Again, if you find yourself in any of these situations, please seek out the necessary professional help to get your family back on track. God has so much good in store for you and your family, and all you need to do is to reach out for it and apply it to your life. If you do this, I know God will bless you, and He'll be by your side every step of the way. The fourth plan, which we have not mentioned yet, is the senior partner plan. The senior partner plan is basically the same as the two-partner plan, but in addition to the two-partner plan, the senior partner plan takes on a senior partner who helps to manage the household money. The senior partner in this plan is the Lord Jesus Christ. Having Jesus as your senior partner makes this plan the best. It's the best plan because the senior partner plan has God as the owner of the plan. Haggai 2:8 says, "The silver is mine and the gold is mine, says the Lord of hosts." When we use the senior partner plan, you and I only act as the managing partner. And concerning this, 1 Corinthians 4:2 says, "It is required of a steward that one is found faithful." Leviticus 27:30 says, "All the tithe of the land is the Lord's. It's holy unto the Lord." And Leviticus 27:32 adds this, "Concerning the tithe of the herd of the flock, the 10th one shall be holy unto the Lord." In other words, 1 in 10, or 1/10, or 10% is holy unto the Lord. This 1/10 should be dedicated to or returned to God. So according to Leviticus 27:32, God's tithe is 1/10. This means that if I earn $10, 1/10 of this is $1, and that is God's tithe which belongs to him. This principle applies equally for the wealthy, the middle class, and the poor. It's fair because God's share remains the same regardless how much a person makes. It's always 1/10, or 10% of your income. If I earn $100, 10% is $10, which belongs to God. Again, if I earn 1,000, then 10% is 100, which belongs to God as his tithe. Both the Old and the New Testament teach that God requires tithing from his people. In the Old Testament, Abraham returned his tithe, as found in Genesis 13:20. At Bethel, when Jacob entered into a covenant with God, he vowed to give his protector 1/10 of his increase. The Bible also tells us how the tithe is to be used. An example of this is given to us through the priestly tribe of the Levites. The Levites were directed by God to conduct the services of God through the sanctuary services which God ordained. They dedicated their time to God, and the tithe was to support their needs, because this was their full-time work. Numbers 18:23 and 24 speaks of them receiving tithes from their brethren. In the New Testament passage of 1 Corinthians 9:13 and 14, the Apostle Paul refers to this plan, declaring, "Even so, the Lord has commanded that those who preach the gospel should live from the gospel." Not to mention the fact that Jesus himself endorsed the tithing system. Condemning the Pharisees for emphasizing the tithe but disregarding justice and mercy, Jesus pointed out that both were sacred obligations. He declared, "These you ought to have done without leaving the others undone." In other words, the tithe should be returned to God, but mercy and justice also need to be practiced by God's people. Now, someone is thinking that we're not saved by doing, but by believing, right? This is absolutely true. We are saved by faith. But once we have found salvation in Jesus, we will want to please him, and we will want to be obedient to him. And in doing so, God's blessings are bestowed upon us. Many couples who don't follow the senior partner plan are always asking each other, "Honey, where's the money?" They do this because they don't have the senior partner looking out for their best interest. To these couples, God says, "Will a man rob God? Yet you have robbed me in tithes and offerings. You are cursed with a curse, for you have robbed me." This is found in Malachi 3:9. Those who do follow the senior partner plan don't need to ask, "Honey, where's the money?" because their money is blessed by God. Malachi 3:10 says, "Bring all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. And try me now in this, says the Lord of hosts, if I will not open for you the windows of heaven and pour out for you such a blessing that there will not be room enough to receive it." There are those who want to follow the senior partner plan, but they seek to make excuses for not doing it. Here's one such example, and you may have heard about this yourself. Some say, "After I have paid all the bills, there isn't enough left over to return God's 10% to him." But I say that perhaps our priorities are reversed in this line of thinking. Is this the right way to go about returning tithe to the King of the universe? Shouldn't God's part be set aside first? I believe that it should. After all, everything we have belongs to him in the first place. Matthew 6:33 says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all of these things shall be added unto you." If we ensure that God is first, he will ensure that our needs are met. In the Bible, the widowed mother made God first, and she received God's blessing upon herself and her son. 1 Kings 17:10 through 16 tells us this. So making God your senior partner is the most practical thing you can do to receive God's blessing upon your finances. What you should do next for your finances is to implement a debt liquidation plan. We must find ways to eliminate our debts. One way of doing this is to cut back on needless spending. In the world today, advertising and lending institutions are working to get us into debt and to keep us in debt. This is how they make their money. In fact, once you get out of debt, you receive twice as many offers in the mail for new credit cards because they want you to take on more debt. The advertising industry spends $40 billion a year bombarding us with 300,000 advertising messages to get us to buy what we don't need and cannot afford. The average American owes $8,000 in credit card debt. If the minimum monthly payment was made, it would take years to pay off this debt, and in the process, the interest paid on it would amount to many thousands of dollars. Yes, it's God's desire that we be free from debt. Romans 13:8 says, "Owe no one anything except to love one another." Wow. Can you imagine if everyone was debt-free and everyone loved one another as God would have us do so? Some might be bold enough to ask, why be debt-free anyway? Proverbs 22:7 gives us the answer, and it says, "The borrower is servant to the lender." So, in essence, you become a slave to the one that you owe money to. Therefore, I would like to give you a 7-step strategy for your debt liquidation plan. First, make a firm decision not to create any more new debt. This means that you don't purchase anything without first having the cash in hand to pay for it. This also means that you destroy all credit cards except the one that carries the lowest interest rate. And you only use that card in case of an emergency. And I do mean only for emergencies. The second step is to maintain payments on all current commitments. You want to stay current on all of your bills so you don't destroy your credit. If your credit is already bad, then by making your regular monthly payments on time, you will begin restoring your credit. Make a list of all of your debts, starting with the smallest and ending with the largest. To get out of debt, after you have paid all of your monthly bills, use all of the extra income you are able to come up with to pay off the smallest debt as quickly as possible. But don't neglect the others while doing it. Then, once this debt is paid, you simply take the cash that you would have put on the first debt and you apply that amount as extra money to the next smallest debt. And you do this until that debt is paid off. Keep repeating this process of debt elimination and see how much progress you are able to make over the next few years. You will be quite surprised on how quickly your debts begin to go down and disappear. For example, the $30 you were paying on your clothing debt. Once that's paid, it is now added to your furniture debt. So instead of just paying $70 on the furniture debt, you're now paying $100 on it. This will enable you to pay it off faster. Then, when that debt is paid, you apply the $100 that you were paying on your furniture debt to the car. Thus, the car payment will now be $200 instead of only $100. Now, these numbers may not be realistic for your application, but the principle is solid, and you won't go wrong by using it. When the car is paid off, then apply the $200 each month to your house payment. When you begin making the extra payments on your home mortgage, be sure that the extra money is being applied directly to the principal balance. This will eliminate huge amounts of interest, and your mortgage will be paid off quicker than you thought possible. This brings us to debt elimination principle number 4, which is to save consistently and invest wisely. Proverbs 6:6-8 says, "Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider her ways and be wise, which having no captain, overseer, or ruler, provides her supplies in the summers and gathers her food in the harvest." In other words, in order to be wise like the ants who save consistently, we too should save consistently. It should be your goal to make saving a regular habit, even if it's only a small sum of money. In the end, even a small sum of money consistently saved will add up to a larger sum in the future. When it comes to investing, you should invest wisely. Proverbs 4:7 says, "Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and in all you're getting, get understanding." You typically have two options when it comes to investing. With one, you have the opportunity to make high gains, but this option also carries high risk. The other option yields lower gains, which typically carries lower risk. Seek to educate yourself in regards to your investments and ask God for wisdom in making your investment decisions. Do not invest to gain a lot of money in return, because greed will cloud your decision. A wise investment is the ownership of your home, for an example. It would be better to buy your home than to rent. For example, if you lived in an apartment for 10 years and you paid $1,000 a month to live there, in 10 years you would have spent $120,000 in rent, and at the end of that time you have nothing to show for it. On the other hand, if you purchased a home and paid that same $120,000 over a 10-year period, you would have equity built up in your house. Equity comes from two sources. One is from the money that you have put in to the principal balance to pay off the loan, and the other is from the appreciation of value that your home may see over a period of time. Now, a lot of factors can come in to affect these numbers, but for the sake of this example, I'll simply say that you were able to realize an equity of 25% of what you put into your mortgage. This means at the end of the same 10-year period, you would have $30,000 of equity built up in your home. Now, don't you think it's better to have $30,000 in equity as opposed to having nothing to show for your rent? Let's move on to principle number 5, which is to make a budget and follow it. Luke 14:28 through 30 says, "Which of you, intending to build a tower, does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it, lest, after he laid the foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, 'This man began to build and was not able to finish.'" Thus we see the need to have a balanced budget. In other words, your expenses must be less than your income. Both parties should participate in the budget preparation. God's part, the tithe, should come out of the budget money first, and a personal allowance for both the husband and the wife should also be included in the budget. Now you may ask, who should administer the household budget? The answer is, whoever is better at handling the finances in your home. Principle number 6 is to let God be the manager of your life. Levi Matthew was a tax collector, but he also collected a little extra for himself and his wife. Day by day, he got richer and richer by charging more than what was fair. Levi Matthew's wife must have often asked, "Honey, how much money did you deposit in our bank account today?" Then one day, Jesus came to Matthew's tax collection site located by the gate of Jerusalem, and he challenged him. Luke 5:27 records it this way. "After these things, he went out and saw a tax collector named Levi sitting at the tax office, and he said to him, 'Follow me.' Levi Matthew thought, 'If I follow this poor Galilean, I'll become poor myself. I'll lose my publican friends, and the Jews will still count me as their enemy. What do I have to gain by following this Jesus? How can I just leave my job and follow Jesus? This is too sudden,' he thought to himself. 'I need time to think it over. After all, what will I answer my wife when she asks me, "Honey, where's the money?'" Fortunately, Levi Matthew made the right decision, and Luke 5:28 tells us Matthew's reaction. It says he left all, he rose up, and he followed him. Just as Jesus called Levi Matthew, so today he is calling you and me. In fact, Jesus said in Matthew 16:24, "If anyone desires to come after me, let him first deny himself and take up his cross and follow me." Not only has Jesus asked us to follow him, but he's also given us a sign showing that we are his followers, and baptism is that sign. Through baptism, we consecrate our lives to Jesus in a public manner, declaring that we are his followers. Mark 16:16 says, "He who believes and is baptized shall be saved." Based on this text, we can easily see that baptism is an essential for salvation, for all who are able to receive it. I say it this way because, like the thief on the cross, there are some who are not able to be baptized, but would be had they had the opportunity to do so. The followers of Jesus will have an earthly reward as well as a heavenly reward. Matthew 19:29 says, "And everyone who has left homes or brothers or sisters or fathers or mothers or wife or children or land for my name's sake shall receive 100-fold." Revelation 2:10 says, "Be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life." Are you concerned about money? He'll supply your needs. Are you concerned about having a job? If you honor God, He will honor you. Are you concerned about what your spouse will say? Are you concerned about what your friends will say? Your spouse and your friends cannot save you, but you can lead the way for them to find Jesus and to find salvation, the salvation that's only found in Him. By your faithful example of following Jesus, you may win your friends and family to Jesus also. In closing, I pray it's your desire to follow Jesus and draw others by your example. May God strengthen you to do this and anything else that He has planned for you to do.
Hello. We encourage you to practice the principles we have shared with you. Join us again for our next episode, when we will share with you how to have a healthy family. Until then, I'm Teresa Garloff, wishing you God's rich blessings for you and your loved ones.
I realize the family unit is under tremendous attacks from every side. With the moral fiber of humanity ever declining and the glorification of self everywhere you look today, it's refreshing to see that God is still at work in the lives of men, women, and children, calling them to a higher standard of living, a higher standard of morality, and of selfless service for others. It's a fact that when you ask God to fill you with His love and compassion for others, that He'll use you to do wonderful and marvelous things for them. And in doing this, you'll find a deep sense of fulfillment, and the blessings you bring to them will be rewarded back to you by God. So, I'd like to encourage you in your walk with God as you seek to make your home a happy home. Make every effort possible to be a blessing to everyone within your home, even if you don't think they deserve it. Make your life a reflection of the love and of the character of Jesus, who Himself laid down His life for you, even when you didn't deserve it. Over time, living a life such as this will transform your home into a little piece of heaven here on earth. May God's grace be with you and give you peace.